So today we're doing a really critical deep dive. We've got some incredibly dense source material built mostly on Gary Wayne's research, and it's a lot. We're going to be tracing the roots of secret societies, their whole hierarchy, and how it all connects to a pretty detailed end times prophecy.
Exactly. Our mission here is really to unpack all of that for you. We need to look at the organizational structure they're proposing, this link between, visible governments and a hidden spiritual world. And crucially, we have to get really precise on the prophetic terms, especially the difference between things like tribulation and God's wrath. People mix those up all the time.
Yeah, they really do. It's about seeing the whole thing from the bottom level recruit all the way up. It's going to be a dense dive, but I think we can connect the dots.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start at the bottom then, where the recruitment happens. The source puts that squarely with Freemasonry. It's described as the lowest level, what's the term they use?
The Phamic trunk. And we're told membership is by invitation only.
Right, the Phamic trunk. And at first they're pretty relaxed about who you worship, yeah. Yahweh, whoever.
Well, that's just the hook.
Yeah.
The source is very clear that this is just the outer layer. It's a recruiting arm. The final destination is to get members to worship the great architect of the universe.
Which the research identifies as
Lucifer. Or as they say, Hail Satan.
And there's a specific turning point, a moment where it all flips for the member, isn't there?
Yes. It's when they reach the level of adept. So that's the 3rd degree on the York Rite or the 33rd degree on the Scottish. The claim is that achieving this is designed to completely, overturn every single thing you thought you knew up to that point. Wow. Okay, so Freemasonry is just the start. Let's go up the ladder. Where does it lead from there?
It's an entire hierarchy. From Freemasonry, you go up to the Illuminati, then the Rosicrucians, the Committee of 300, the Council of 33, and then at the top you have the 13 families, especially in the West.
And all of that connects to the royals. Now that word itself is interesting. The source breaks down the etymology.
It does. It traces royale back through Latin regalis, ruler, and even further to Indo-Aryan reg, also ruler. But the key part is al, which they say transliterates to e for an angel or a god.
So we're not just talking about kings and queens with land. This implies a spiritual, almost divine authority.
Precisely. These royals are supposed to be this invisible hierarchy that's actually running things behind our visible governments, and they answer to the spiritual realm. The source claims they started becoming much more invisible around the 12th or 13th century.
Which is why some of these groups call themselves the invisible ones. So that brings us to the bloodlines. Why these 13 families? I mean, what's so special about their ancestry, according to this material?
The claim is that they keep these genealogies forever, and they trace them back through a dual line. First to a Nephilim or Raphaim patriarch or matriarch, so back to the ancient giants.
Okay.
And second, they trace it back to what the source calls a celestial mafia godfather, which is one of the fallen angels. It's a claim to both a physical and a spiritual kind of nobility.
That's a staggering claim. Is there a modern example they use to make this feel more concrete?
There is, actually. A really specific one. The material points to King Charles III, who apparently traces his own lineage back to Vlad the Impaler.
The historical Dracula?
The very one. And the name Dracula itself means son of a dragon. The root words Drac and Grant are said to mean a watcher in Greek. They even describe Vlad as a typical noble giant. Red-haired, hazel-eyed, pale, light-sensitive, and educated in a mystery school.
So this all ties back to a specific spiritual origin. The Watchers. The source names one in particular, doesn't it? Azazel.
Azazel, yes. He's presented as one of the top Satans. He's the scapegoat for all the sins before the flood, the antediluvian sins. He's the one who supposedly taught humanity the arts and crafts of war and all the technology that would go with it. The leader of the Watchers.
Yeah, all these old religions, Druidism, Magi, Mithraism, the source says they're all connected under one umbrella, and that is Gnosticism.
That's the unifying belief system they point to. Gnosticism is what amalgamates all of them. And its core belief is polytheism, with Satan as the chief god.
Which leads right into the New Age movement. The name Alice Bailey comes up a lot here.
It does. Alice Bailey is cited as a famous Gnostic adept, deeply involved with globalist movements. She wrote about the externalization of the hierarchy.
The externalization of the hierarchy, what does that mean?
It's the idea that these invisible rulers would eventually make themselves known to the public. And she actually gave a timeline for it. She projected it would happen around 2025.
That is, very soon. Which brings us to how they control things now. The source even says the word conspiracy was basically weaponized.
Yes, the claim is that the word was deliberately altered in its public meaning to just imply misinformation. It's a tool to keep people, as the source puts it, pacified and like a mushroom in the dark. But the argument is that delayed truth keeps coming out, proving the original so-called conspiracists.
Right.
And a huge part of that control is cultural. Preparing us from childhood. This is where it gets really strange, with C.S. Lewis and J.R. Tolkien.
This is a fascinating part. The claim is that both Lewis and Tolkien were adepts in the Rosicrucian Golden Dawn Society. They were part of the Inkling Society at Oxford, which was supposedly just for nobility, for pure bloods.
And their job was what? To write stories?
To use what they called the fairy tale concept. To use fiction with a happy ending, a eucatastrophe, they termed it, to soften us up, to make future, real revelations easier for people to accept.
And this ties into a pretty shocking view of the Bible, doesn't it?
It does. The material claims they saw the Bible as just another fairy tale because they rejected the literal resurrection of Christ. To them, that was just the happy ever after ending. So characters in their books, like Aslan and Narnia.
Exactly. Aslan reincarnates in a way that's more like Mithra, or a sort of Christ consciousness, not a literal resurrection. And you see fauns, satyrs, all these mythological figures introduced to us as children's characters. The source says this prepares the Western mind to accept it all when the hierarchy finally reveals itself.
So the control is literary, but it's also physical, right, in the way towns are built. The Masonic town blueprint.
Yes, this theory is about how they'd lay legal claim to new land. They'd structure the town square on a grid. The north-south axis was for legal buildings, courthouse, police, fire station. The east-west axis was for controlled churches, usually one Catholic and one Protestant.
And there were tunnels.
Often, yes. Tunnels underneath for secret meetings. It's about total control of the town center, both symbolically and practically.
Okay, so let's move to the end game. If this is their structure, what is the actual goal they're working toward?
Their goal is to bring about what they call the Golden Age. It's a polytheist term for basically the days of Noah, a new Atlantis, ruled by 10 kings. They are actively trying to make this happen because they've been led to believe they will win the end-time war.
And technology, like AI, must play a huge role in that.
A massive role. The source argues that AI has the same destination whether you're doing it for good or evil. It's about centralizing power. This whole debate about white hat versus black hat AI. The source calls that standard dogma a way to herd people into a system where you have no choice but to rely on it.
But this confidence that they can win, it's all based on a lie, according to the source.
Yeah.
A lie told by the fallen angels.
A profound lie. And this is where Jesus' victory is so critical. The material points to Colossians 2.15. While his body was in the grave, his spirit went to Tartarus, to Sheol, and he publicly denounced the watchers from Noah's time. He judged them. He sentenced them.
He told
Your war is officially over. That's the truth they have to hide from their human offspring. They have to keep up the lie that victory is still possible.
Okay, so knowing the war is already won, let's clarify the prophetic timeline, because this is where people get so confused. Tribulation versus the wrath of God. What's the difference?
We have to be precise with the Greek here. Tribulation, or philipsis, it just means affliction, persecution of the saints. The New Testament is clear that believers will go through it. Revelation 2.1 mentions 10 days of tribulation, not 7 years. It's just the trouble that comes with living in this world.
And the wrath of God. That's different.
Completely different. The wrath of God is reserved for the ungodly. Think of the bowl judgments. Believers are promised to be saved from that. And the source stresses the sequence is key. Jesus gave us the sequence. The Greek word is tuta, not just a list of topics. And in that sequence, the abomination desolation is the exact midpoint of the final 7 years.
And what about timing? We hear a lot about the fig tree generation. How does the source calculate that?
Well, the general consensus in this research is that the taking of Jerusalem in 1967 might be the starting point. A biblical generation can be 40, 70, even 120 years, so that could point us toward, the 2030s. But the source is careful to say the exact timing is uncertain. The signs, though, are all there.
It's a lot to take in. The source material notes that so many people are paralyzed by a fear of death, and that fear makes them easy to control. So I guess the question for you, listening, is this. If you know how it really ends, if you know that Jesus already declared the war over and victory is assured, how does that change the way you live right now? How does it change the fear you carry? Whether this material seems completely out there or it all clicks into place for you, the big takeaway is to be aware, to be prepared. We're told to always watch. We can't control these massive global structures, these invisible hierarchies, but we can control what we do. And being informed is always the first step. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to share this message with your friends and family. Let the fire spread.
We'll see you soon for another episode of Jesus Fighter, where we keep fighting the good fight of faith. Stay strong, stay blessed, and keep walking in victory.